Here's what you missed on February 14th. Okay, so this is kind of an extension of lesson number 1, when I read the patrol book and we talked about character and setting and conflict. And so today you have an exit slip after you've read chapter 1 in your book, and you have an exit slip that says exposition at the top. If you don't have that, you need to go to handouts and links page and print that out. You're going to fill it out using the book that you're on right now, and we're going to talk about exposition, which you should know what that is. Andy's going to point it out on the plot mountain, my lovely assistant. So there's exposition, which is the beginning of the plot mountain, and so it's going to be your characters, your setting, and your conflict, and it's whatever sets it up. And then you go through the rising action, the climax, falling action, resolution. Okay. So these 2 questions should be in your reader's notebook. If you don't have a reader's notebook, at least if you wrote them somewhere who are doing patrol, you should have these written down. What kind of person is your protagonist, and what's happening in the story? And what's happening in the story is the setting and the conflict. You can point to whatever part you want.
Oh, cool.
And if you step in front of the screen, and you can smile at the camera. Okay. So characters, who's your protagonist? One thing that I just stuck in with characters is the point of view. Which character, is it from a character's point of view? Is it from your protagonist's point of view, or is it a narrator? And who are the other characters? And again, the question is, what kind of person is this character? Is what you're trying to get at in that first exposition thing. Let's review point of view really fast. You know this already. First person is when a character is telling the story, and it's usually they're saying I, me, my, we, are. Third person is an outside narrator. So they'll be saying, he said this, she said this, whatever. But you know that already. Setting, what's happening in the story. Remember that setting is not just place, it's time and situation. So in Patrol, it was the place was Vietnam, the time was World War II, but the situation and the conflict was the middle of the Vietnamese War. Sorry, it wasn't World War II. Sorry, back that up. The place was Vietnam, the time was the Vietnam War. Should I start over? Nah. You know I was wrong. And the situation was he was in the jungle facing his enemy, heading for a target. And so the situation and the conflict are part of it. And as you read further, the real conflict is going to stay kind of the same. The situation is going to change a lot. And so the exposition are those things. The character, the setting, and the conflict. So when you get your exit slip, you're going to go through characters. What point of view is it from? Name the main character of your novel and describe what he or she is like in 2 or 3 sentences. Now, if you're reading Refugee, you have 3 different characters. Just write 1 sentence for each. You want to try to capture it in 1 sentence. Whenever it says a sentence, it means a complete sentence. Say it. Say it to the camera.
A complete sentence.
Right? Okay. So setting, you're going to put the place, the time period, and you're going to be correct about it, not like I just was. And the situation, the environment surrounding the character. And then your conflict, in this case the situation and conflict are about the same thing, but here you're going to capture the conflict happening in your novel in 1 sentence. In what kind of sentence?
1 sentence.
Complete sentence.
Or that.
Yeah. 1 complete sentence. Okay, so this is the hard part. Okay, and this question came right off of SBAC. This question you might read an excerpt on that test, and it just gives you this question. So you need to know what exposition means, and you need to know how to answer this question written like this. How does the author develop the exposition of your novel? Try to write 1 sentence that captures this. So all of this is the exposition. How am I going to fit that into 1 sentence? I'm going to list characters, time period, character, setting, and conflict in it. And then I'm also going to try to say how the author did it. So Here's how I would do that with the book Patrol. The author reveals the inner thoughts, because remember, it's kind of from just him thinking. It's a third person, but it's from we get kind of a sense of what he's thinking. The author reveals the inner thoughts of a young soldier in Vietnam during the war.
I can't do 2 fingers.
As he goes through the jungle to face the enemy. So you've got the character and the place and the conflict that's happening, the situation that's happening. So you're going to do the same thing. Here are some sentence starters, but only use them if they apply to your sentence or you apply to your book. So if it's written in a first-person perspective, you could say, using a first-person perspective, the author, and then you go through character, the setting, and conflict, and you list them. Written entirely in verse, if you're reading one of the verse novels, because every category has one verse novel, written entirely in verse, the author tells about character, setting, and conflict. Maybe your book starts off in the middle of the action, so that's a move an author made on purpose. Starting in the middle of the action, the author, and then you finish the sentence with character, setting, conflict. Or like I did, through the internal thoughts of the character, the author, character, setting, conflict. So you get the point, right? So this one is important. From now on, if I don't see complete sentences, or you don't complete what's going on here, I don't take it. You get it back and you have to redo it. So.
That sucks. I've had to do that.
But it's useful, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, that's what you missed. Thanks.